Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Five Loaves channel. If you don't know me, my name is Joseph Gurr, and I want to start this episode by thanking all of you for all the support and all the feedback on the first episode. To be honest, it's done a lot better than I was expecting a first episode to do, so I'm so thankful for everyone that shared it, everyone that liked, everyone that commented, so thank you guys so much. Second thing, we now have official social media pages for the Five Loaves channel. We now have an Instagram and a TikTok. So I will make sure to put the links in the description. So make sure you guys go give it a follow. And third thing, I want to thank my sister-in-law, Emma, for giving me the idea for this episode. She suggested that I do a video on Exodus 14:14. So that's exactly what we're going to be reading out of. So if you guys would join me in Exodus 14:14. It says, "The Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent." Now, after Emma texted me suggesting this for the video, I asked her what stuck out to her about this verse, and she gave me permission to share her answer. And she said, "I was in college going through a really hard season and came across it and thought, whoa, the Israelites literally have the biggest and most powerful army in the world coming after them, and them having nowhere to go and no clear path. And I imagine God's voice coming to Moses, basically as a whisper, saying, 'Don't be afraid. I fight your battles. If you will just trust me and stay.' God says a lot of times throughout the Bible to not be afraid, but that's always been my favorite. Like, no matter how impossible something might seem, if you are following him, then he fights for you and he doesn't lose. And my problems are never going to be as big as the Israelites in that situation, and they trusted in him." So I really like how she interprets this verse because she's exactly right. You know, none of us are being chased by a giant army of Egyptians who want to kill us, right? And I think a lot of times as humans, we like to try and take control of the things in our life, right? Especially the things that aren't going our way. You know, maybe it's school. You know, I know a lot of people are dealing with midterms and finals right now. You know, maybe you're just trying to take control of that. Take control of your grades, take control of school. You know, maybe you're a senior and you're not exactly sure where you're going to school or where you're going to get in, where you're not going to get in. You know, maybe it's a relationship. You know, maybe your partner's making bad choices and not listening to you, and you just wish that you were in control of that situation. Maybe it's a friendship where your friends are treating you poorly, you don't feel like you fit in, you know, they're inviting other people to stuff and not you, and you just wish you could take control, you know. But a lot of times when we try and take control of those situations, we only end up getting in God's way, right? So like the verse says, the Lord will fight for you, and you have only to be silent. So it tells us exactly what we need to do. All we need to do is be silent and take a step back and let God take control. You know, there's a really common saying to let go and let God, right? But that's a lot easier said than done. So how do you let go and let God, right? So in the last episode, we talked about surrender, and we talked about surrendering your time and your effort to God. But this is a different kind of surrender. This is about surrendering your thoughts, you know, which is a lot harder to measure than surrendering time or effort. So what does it mean to surrender your thoughts, right? What that means is whenever you start stressing, you start worrying, or you start becoming anxious about something that's going on, the first thing you need to do is pray about it. It says in Philippians 4:6, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God." So say you're worrying about your social studies grade, and you're thinking, oh man, this final is the only thing I can do to boost that grade, right? I need to take control of that and do good. Now, I'm not saying that you just give up and you're like, oh, well, whatever, you know, God's in control. I'm not going to try. But no, what I'm saying is when you start to stress or worry about that, pray about it, right? And again, like we said in the last video, it's not going to be instant. It's not going to be a bang, instantly going to be able to just put all your worries to God. For example, I used to, when I would pray, it felt like a fishing pole, right? I would pray to cast my anxieties, cast my stress, cast my worries on God, right? And then after that prayer, I would just reel all those worries, all that stress back in, and I'd start thinking about it again, right? So what you need to do is be honest in your prayer and surrender your thoughts to Him. Whenever you start feeling that stress or that worry, pray and pray that God would help remind you that He is in control and we are not, right? Because oftentimes when you do that, it brings you this peace, knowing that God is in control and that we aren't, right? Because if we were in control, things would probably end out a lot worse than when God is in control. Because He knows everything, and He knows exactly what we need, what the people around us need, what everyone needs. So it's better just to let God take control, let God take the wheel, let go, and let God. And so eventually, if you keep praying about this time and time again for God to, just keep reminding you, eventually, if you keep praying about it, it's going to become a habit, right? That prayer will become a habit. And then eventually, that stress and that worry, it may not completely go away, but you'll be so much better prepared to deal with it and be able to, defend yourself and protect yourself from that stress and worry and not let that control your life, because you know that God is in control of your life. So that's going to end today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video. And make sure to comment any ideas for other videos that you guys would like to see on the channel. And thank you again to Emma for the video idea. I hope you guys have a great day.